Alfonso Cahero, A Journey into Finance History. Chapter 41, Bretton Woods Agreement, 1944. In the midst of the chaos of World War II, as the world grappled with the devastation and destruction left in its wake, a glimmer of hope emerged. In July 1944, representatives from 44 Allied nations gathered at the Mount Washington Hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, with a singular purpose: to shape the future of the global economy and prevent another economic catastrophe like the Great Depression. The conference at Bretton Woods was a momentous occasion, bringing together some of the brightest minds in economics and finance from around the world. The stakes could not have been higher, as the delegates faced the daunting task of designing a new international monetary system that could withstand the challenges of the post-war era. The Great Depression of the 1930s had cast a long shadow over the world, leaving millions unemployed, businesses bankrupt, and economies in shambles. It was a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the global economy and the need for coordinated action to prevent such a calamity from happening again. The devastation wrought by the Great Depression had shattered confidence in the existing international monetary system, which was based on the gold standard. Under this system, currencies were pegged to gold, and the value of each currency was fixed in terms of a specific amount of gold. However, the rigidity of the gold standard had exacerbated the economic downturn, as countries were unable to adjust their exchange rates to respond to changing economic conditions. Among the key figures at Bretton Woods were the British economist John Maynard Keynes and the American Treasury official Harry Dexter White. These two men would play pivotal roles in shaping the agreements that would emerge from the conference, drawing on their differing economic philosophies to forge a compromise that would lay the groundwork for a new international economic order. Keynes, a proponent of government intervention in the economy, argued for a system that would allow for greater flexibility in exchange rates and provide mechanisms for stabilizing the global economy. White, on the other hand, favored a more conservative approach, advocating for a system that would maintain the stability of exchange rates and prevent competitive devaluations. One of the most significant outcomes of the Bretton Woods Conference was the demise of the gold standard as the basis for the international monetary system. While gold would still play a role in the new system, it would no longer serve as the primary means of settling international payments. The delegates at Bretton Woods recognized that the rigidity of the gold standard had contributed to the instability of the global economy during the Great Depression. By abandoning the gold standard, they hoped to create a more flexible system that would allow for adjustments in exchange rates to reflect changes in economic conditions. Central to the new international monetary system agreed upon at Bretton Woods was the establishment of two key institutions, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. The IMF would be responsible for overseeing the stability of the international monetary system, providing financial assistance to countries facing balance of payments crises, and promoting international cooperation on monetary matters. The creation of the IMF marked a significant departure from the pre-war era, when countries had pursued beggar-thy-neighbor policies in a desperate attempt to protect their own interests. Now, for the first time, there would be a mechanism for coordinating international monetary policy and promoting economic stability on a global scale. In addition to the IMF, the Bretton Woods Conference also established the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, known today as the World Bank. The World Bank would be tasked with providing financial assistance to war-torn countries for the purpose of rebuilding their economies and promoting economic development. The creation of the World Bank reflected a growing recognition of the importance of economic development in promoting global peace and stability. By providing loans and technical assistance to developing countries, the World Bank aimed to address the underlying causes of poverty and inequality, thereby reducing the likelihood of future conflicts. Under the new international monetary system established at Bretton Woods, the US dollar would play a central role as the world's primary reserve currency. Other currencies would be pegged to the dollar at fixed exchange rates, and the dollar would be convertible into gold at a fixed price of $35 per ounce. The decision to make the dollar the linchpin of the international monetary system was a reflection of the economic and military dominance of the United States in the aftermath of World War II. With much of Europe and Asia in ruins, the dollar was seen as a safe haven for international investors, and the US government was able to use its position to promote its own economic interests. While the agreements reached at Bretton Woods represented a significant step forward in international economic cooperation, they were not without their critics. Some economists argued that the fixed exchange rates established under the new system would be difficult to maintain in the long run, especially in the face of external shocks, such as changes in trade flows or fluctuations in capital flows. Others criticized the dominance of the US dollar in the international monetary system, arguing that it gave the United States an unfair advantage in setting global economic policy. Still, others questioned the wisdom of entrusting so much power to unelected technocrats at institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, raising concerns about issues of democratic accountability and sovereignty. In the years following the conference at Bretton Woods, the new international monetary system was put to the test as the world struggled to recover from the devastation of World War II. Initially, the system appeared to be a success, as countries worked together to maintain fixed exchange rates and promote economic stability. However, cracks soon began to appear in the facade, as the demands of the Cold War and the pressures of decolonization strained the resources of the IMF and the World Bank. Meanwhile, the United States faced mounting deficits as a result of its military commitments and its role as the world's primary reserve currency, leading to speculation about the sustainability of the dollar's peg to gold. The final nail in the coffin of the Bretton Woods system came in August 1971, when President Richard Nixon announced that the United States would no longer convert dollars into gold at the fixed price of $35 per ounce. This effectively ended the convertibility of the dollar into gold and marked the beginning of the end for the Bretton Woods system. The collapse of Bretton Woods sent shockwaves through the global economy, as countries were forced to abandon fixed exchange rates and adopt floating exchange rate regimes. In the years that followed, the world would witness a series of currency crises and economic upheavals as countries struggled to adjust to the new reality of a post-Bretton Woods world. Despite its ultimate demise, the Bretton Woods system left behind a lasting legacy, shaping the course of international economic relations for decades to come. The establishment of the IMF and the World Bank laid the groundwork for a new era of international economic cooperation, while the recognition of the importance of exchange rate flexibility paved the way for the adoption of floating exchange rate regimes in the 1970s. The collapse of Bretton Woods also served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of relying too heavily on fixed exchange rates and the need for flexibility in responding to changing economic conditions. In the years since, policymakers have sought to strike a balance between stability and flexibility in designing international monetary systems, drawing on the lessons learned from the experience of Bretton Woods. The legacy of the Bretton Woods Conference can still be felt today, as the institutions established at the conference continue to play a central role in the global economy. The IMF and the World Bank remain key players in international economic governance, providing financial assistance and technical expertise to countries around the world. The principles enshrined in the agreements reached at Bretton Woods, including exchange rate stability, monetary cooperation, and the promotion of economic development, continue to guide policymakers as they grapple with the challenges of an increasingly interconnected and interdependent world. While the Bretton Woods system may have come to an end, its spirit lives on in the ongoing quest for a more stable, prosperous, and equitable global economy.